So you're listening because you want to get past the noise, right? You need to know what's really moving the markets today.
Exactly. No fluff, just the core insights.
Welcome to the deep dive. We're going straight into the PantheonAI Morning Briefing for April 14th, 2025.
Yep. We've got the market update, the news analysis PantheonAI compiles.
Yeah.
And our job is basically to pull out what really matters.
And why it matters to you.
Right.
Okay, so quite a bit on the agenda today. We're going to touch on the main stock indexes, check in on crypto.
Look at oil prices, especially with those tariffs.
Yeah, and Apple's surprising strength through all that, plus big news in weight loss drugs and a major HR tech deal.
It's quite the mix. Let's jump in.
Okay, the briefing really connects these dots, doesn't it?
It does. Shows how it all fits together.
All right, numbers first. S&P 500 finished up, but just slightly. About 0.17%, around 5451.
Yeah, and the Dow was also up a bit more, roughly 0.40%, closed near 40,709.
But not everything was green?
No, definitely not. The Nasdaq actually slipped down, what was it, about 0.47% to 17,039.
And the Russell 2000, the small caps, they took a bigger knob.
Yeah, down around 0.81%, ended near 1875. So that difference, it tells a story, right?
It does. Seems like maybe investors are being a bit cautious, selective, not just buying everything.
Could be. Or maybe money is just moving around between different types of stocks. What do you think?
Hard to say for sure, but yeah, feels less like broad optimism and more targeted bets. Okay, let's shift over to crypto. Bitcoin's still chugging along.
Yep, up just under 1%, near $84,500. Holding steady, really.
But Ethereum, that saw a bigger jump.
It really did. Up over 4%, trading around $1,661.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah.
What is the resilience?
Yeah, the resilience, the continued interest, despite all the usual volatility warnings, makes you wonder what's driving it.
Is it just a hedge? Or something specific happening with Ethereum itself?
Good question. Could be a bit of both. The briefing doesn't pinpoint one specific thing, but the momentum is there.
Okay. Now, let's get into the oil market. Big topic. That tariff announcement back on April 2nd seems like it's really rippling through. OPEC cut its demand forecast.
That's right. And the PantheonAI briefing draws a pretty direct line there. The tariffs spark worries about global trade slowing down.
Right. Less trade, less economic activity.
Means less demand for oil. Exactly. So OPEC revises down its forecast.
And oil futures tumbled by quite a bit.
Yeah, roughly 13%. That's a significant drop. It's the market basically saying, okay, we see potential trouble ahead for the economy. It's a clear signal of uncertainty.
So the market's reacting even before the tariffs fully bite, just on the anticipation.
Pretty much, is pricing in the risk.
Okay, but then you have Apple. All this tariff talk, and its stock seems fine, almost immune.
Well, immune might be strong, but definitely resilient. And the briefing points to that smartphone exemption as a key reason.
So iPhones being exempt makes a huge difference.
A massive difference. It's their core product. But, I think it's also about the Apple brand itself.
The loyalty factor.
Exactly. People are still going to want their iPhones, their MacBooks. That ecosystem is sticky. It shows how specific company strengths can sometimes override broader market worries. What else do you think helps them?
Maybe just the sheer size and cash reserves. They can weather storms better than most.
That too. Definitely a factor. Okay, let's switch gears again. Pharmaceuticals. Pfizer stopping work on an oral weight loss drug. That's big news.
Yeah, seemed like a promising area. What's the immediate impact?
Well, the briefing highlights a pretty immediate boost for Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly.
The makers of Wegovy and Zepbound?
Right. Their main competitors, basically. With Pfizer potentially stepping back, investor optimism flowed straight to them. Their stocks jumped.
So one company's setback is another's opportunity.
Absolutely. It really underscores the high stakes in drug development. Huge risks, huge potential rewards. Do you think this changes the game for Novo and Lilly now?
Probably motivates them even more, right? Less competition, bigger potential market share to grab if they keep innovating.
Seems likely.
Yep.
Okay, one more big item. Paychex buying Paycor. That sounds like a major move in the HR software world.
Yeah, consolidating human capital management, or HCM. What's the thinking there?
The PantheonAI analysis sees it as part of a larger trend. Businesses want simplicity. They want one platform that handles everything: payroll, HR, benefits, talent management.
So integration is key.
Exactly. Paychex is betting that combining forces with Paycor creates that more comprehensive, seamless solution companies are looking for. It's a bet on the future of how workforces are managed.
Makes sense. But does consolidation like that have downsides for customers?
Potentially. Fewer choices could eventually mean, less competitive pricing. It's often a trade-off. Efficiency versus competition.
A bit of a double-edged sword, maybe.
Could be. And looking across all these different stories in the briefing,
Mm.
there's a theme emerging, isn't there?
Yeah, it definitely feels like a split market, a divergence.
Right. You've got sectors like energy getting hit hard by trade fears and demand forecasts.
While others, like parts of tech, especially with those exemptions like Apple's, seem much more protected.
It really highlights that you can't just look at the overall market anymore. You have to understand the specifics of each sector, even each company.
The Apple story really drives that home. Broad worries don't always hit everyone equally.
Precisely. Okay, let's try and wrap this up. If someone only remembers a few things from this deep dive into the Pantheon AI briefing, what should they be?
All right, takeaway number 1, headline stock indexes. Modest moves, kind of mixed. S&P up a bit, Dow up a bit more, Nasdaq and Russell down. So there's caution underneath.
2, crypto's still showing strength. Bitcoin steady, Ethereum making a noticeable jump. Investor interest remains pretty solid there, despite the volatility.
3, oil prices took a dive, down about 13%. That's directly linked to OPEC cutting its demand forecast because of those tariff worries. It's a signal of economic uncertainty.
4, but Apple is weathering the tariff storm, largely thanks to that smartphone exemption. It shows how specific policies and, frankly, brand power can insulate a company.
5, Pfizer halting its oral weight loss drug. That's boosted optimism and stock prices for rivals Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly immediately. Big pharma competition in action.
And 6, Paychex buying Paycor. That's a major consolidation play in the HR tech space, betting big on integrated workforce management platforms.
So zooming out, you see the split, right? Trade-sensitive sectors like energy are feeling the pressure.
While others, like parts of tech, seem more insulated for now.
And it's a good reminder. Macro stuff, like tariffs matters, of course, but so do company specifics, innovation, customer loyalty, like we see with Apple. Those are still huge drivers.
Absolutely. And, for investors, downturns in some sectors like energy right now might actually present longer-term opportunities if you can look past the immediate noise.
That's a good point, thinking long-term versus short-term. And the consolidation, like Paychex Paycor, suggests a push for better, more integrated services, which could be good for users and investors down the line.
And it all just highlights how interconnected everything is. What happens with U.S. tariffs impacts global oil demand, which affects markets everywhere. You need that broad perspective.
Definitely. Okay, so before we wrap up, a few things for you, our listeners, to chew on, building on what we've discussed.
Yeah, first, thinking about Apple, could we see more targeted tariff exemptions in the future? And what would that mean for other tech companies or even other industries?
And second, given the reaction in the oil markets to OPEC's move, what kind of risk strategies should investors be considering for their energy holdings right now?
And maybe a broader one. With healthcare and tech evolving so fast, what kind of innovative strategies do companies need to really thrive, not just survive, in this environment?
Lots to think about.
For sure. And remember, Pantheon AI is designed to be your information copilot, helping you make sense of all this complexity. Keep asking questions.
Keep learning and use the insights the AI offers. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll catch you next time.